Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It is time to cover Lemegeton's Guidebook, which is a guide to all of the demons in Bayonetta 2, apart from the infernal? Words today, they fail me. The infernal demons, which have their own wonderful little book all to themselves. Now, what Lemegeton is based on is the Lesser Key of Solomon, also known as the Clavicular Solomonis Regis, or Lemegeton. And basically it's an anonymous grimoire or spellbook on demonology, compiled in the mid-17th century, mostly from materials that are a couple of centuries older, and it's divided into 5 books: the Ars Goetia, Ars Thirdia Goetia, Ars Paulina, Ars Almeidal, and Ars Notoria. And it's got a whole thing about the 72 demons, which involve King Baal, which is remarkably similar to Baal, and President Malphas, whose wings we have been using throughout this game, and who was an infernal demon summon in the original title. Those two are the only ones that we have here that are associated. But we've got all of these other guys who are incredibly awesome. And to be perfectly honest, I would have thought that the people who are the 72 demons, who I think are meant to be kind of like higher level demons, because they're all called King, Duke, Prince, Marquis, President, and so on and so forth, so they're all highly important. Whereas these guys are all kind of just the dregs of Inferno society. But that's a really nifty little kind of reference. I'm quite impressed. Then again, to be perfectly honest, I shouldn't be impressed, because there's a ridiculous amount of knowledge going about in Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta in general. I mean, the depth with which some of these ideas were created and referenced, because you've got all of the classical music that's used, you've got you've got the Divine Comedy, which to me, it's a behemoth to read. That was a very long summer for me many years ago now. But that's huge, and yet, I mean, it's founded, or at least provided the foundations for 2 of Hideki Kamiya's titles, which is bonkers. And then you have, Alraun, which is a reference to obscure German literature. Maybe not quite fully obscure if you know German literature, but it's obscure to the majority of people. And then you have all this kind of demonology and grimoire stuff. And Enochian. I mean, that for starters it's not well known. Before Bayonetta, I had never even heard of the thing. So, they've got some seriously clever people in Platinum Games. And some seriously wide-read people as well. And not just wide-read, but wide-experienced, because you don't the people who are generally interested in, say, general popular culture, so Star Wars and memes and all of that, aren't generally the same audience who are going to be interested in classical literature. I mean, you do get some oddballs, myself included in that, who kind of do have a rather odd and really bizarrely widespread set of kind of things that I enjoy looking at and researching into. I mean, the fact that I like researching into stuff is a slight oddity for, I think, most people, because most people would just happily watch stuff and leave it at that, but My point is that Platinum are very clever people, and they, I suspect, are, as a whole, definitely more wide-read than I am. And this is going to sound quite big-headed. I don't intend it as such, and I am definitely not saying that I have read everything in the world, but I would consider myself pretty damn well wide-read, considering I have basically done a degree that covers everything, well, in English literature, which I guess is part of the problem, but everything from ancient Greek tragedy all the way up to kind of poetry and novels from the 1900s. Haven't actually really covered anything from the past 2 decades, but the point stands is that that is a ridiculously broad span of literature. And just, they go above and beyond anything that I could even begin to comprehend in terms of the amount of stuff that's in here. And even then, like, I've tried to cover everything that has kind of come up to me and that people have noted, but I'm sure there's stuff in here that nobody's recognised because it's ridiculously obscure. Because Platinum seem like the type of people who will do that, and I don't know whether to pin a lot of it on Hideki Kamiya, because, I mean, I know he wrote pretty much everything that was involved in the original game, and that was all then translated by J.P. Kellams. So I don't quite know what the spread ends up being like for this game, because I know that Hideki Kamiya, although he wrote the scenario and wrote the script, I don't know whether he wrote all this other stuff, and it wasn't J.P. Kellams who did the translations. Although he did provide pointers, so there may be kind of other things, and some of this stuff may just be coincidence that they are very similar, but a lot of research has gone in to this game. What I mean, like, Alrune, that kind of description there is sort of essentially part of the plot of the book, which is called Alrune. So, come on. There's a lot of research here, and that depth is something that I think Platinum are phenomenal at. It's that attention to detail, there's the phrase again. They're just remarkably good at it, and I think they should be praised, because I don't think I have ever seen a developer that has done this. Like, ever. I mean, there probably are, but I've not come across them. I mean, like, I guess there's, like, Ubisoft have done some reasonably in-depth stuff with, like, the Assassin's Creed series with their historical figures, and I guess that's probably about all I can think of. Like, generally all that people ever focus on is, like, historical moment and information surrounding that particular historical moment, and don't spread out from that. Whereas these guys, they kind of open everything up, and they open it up wide. Wider than I could ever hope to experience, which is just wonderful. And we are coming to the end of this part, thank God. With a look at the Infernal Demons. So we have Gamora, we have Labalas, and something that I should note is that if you want to get the entry for Madama Kefri, or Madame Kefri, or whatever the hell it is, then you need to make sure that you have beaten a couple of chapters as Rosa, at least. I think, basically, it unlocks by just playing as Rosa in the story, but I think some people have struggled to... Like, it hasn't appeared even when they've played something. So, I don't know, but if you play a couple of chapters as Rosa, then it will definitely unlock as long as you make sure that you're using your Wicked Weaves. And I should also point out that, like, that particular artwork of Madama Butterfly in the Infernal Demons book thing here was the only thing that we'd ever seen of Madama Butterfly. Actually, no, it wasn't even in here. Or it might have been. Might have been in the concept art as well, but kind of just that one picture. Don't think it's quite identical, because this is all new artwork. But that was all we'd seen of her full body until this game, which is bonkers when you think about it. But there's so much stuff that kind of has been revealed in Bayonetta 2, because we saw the entire body of Gamora, we've seen the entire body of Madama Butterfly and Madama Styx, we saw what happened to Boulder. Like, this game kind of threw the doors open to a ridiculous amount of things, which is great. And that's what I really like, that they kind of have brought together numerous of the things with Diomedes, because it's the 4 man-eating horses and kind of fallen ruler, and kind of brought together all in the shapes of the kind of merged the myths, which is great. And also, I am still terrified of Baal. And just even more terrified because her body is too heavy for her to control, which is a terrifying prospect, but also incredibly terrifying if that thing ever appeared to try and kill you. Because that's terrifying. And also I love that Hexen Hair turned up a little bit in this game, because he was a fun Infernal Demon in the last one, and just didn't really get much use. Although, obviously, he did turn up. We did get to use him twice. Once when Rosa used him to grapple Sapientia, and once to take on the Golem in the identical thing. I believe Rosa's summon for Hexen Hair was RTO, or something to that effect. Yes, which means Protector. And there we have the entry for Madama Kefri, which it's highly similar to the ones for Madama Butterfly and Madama Styx, but it's awesome. And then with Omni, that is our last entry in all of these books, and it's time to move on to the world of Bayonetta 2. This walkthrough is nearly over. Time to go into the penultimate part. Oh yes!